Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. All right. Promoter 101. 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 Get out of the Promoter 101.
Adam Kornfeld. I'm at Artist Group International, AGI in New York, and I'm on Promoter 101.
Hey, welcome back to the Promoter 101 podcast. It's episode 177 with very special guest host from ICM Partners, Andrea Johnson. Welcome back to the podcast, AJ.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me. Today on the show, we feature AXS Ticketing's Vice President of Artist Services, Greg Schmale.
Plus, we have 3 questions with Ronnie Scott's own Nick Lewis.
Episode 177 starts right now.
This is Bob Rue with Live Nation, and I'm on Promoter 101.
Have you missed any of the past Promoter 101 episodes? Well, do we have a deal for you? They're all available online, documented, and historically kept in a time capsule just for you. All you have to do is go to the web, www.promoter101.com, click on podcast, and all of them are there for your listening pleasure at any time. We've done that for you, our listeners, because we love you so. This week, we recommend episode 103 as our special reissue of the week.
This episode featured AC Entertainment's Ashley Capps talking about how his amazing career in the biz almost did not happen. The Triple Doors' Scott Jampino talks about booking the hottest 300-capacity showroom on the West Coast.
A Worcer with author Larry Butler. Most of you guys will remember him from his record company days when he was just a high-swinging, big-flinging episode, record label, big shot at Warner. But he's here talking about those days, and that's always fun.
And Emporium presents Dan Steinberg and Jason Zink talking to Billboard amplifies Dave Brooks about the new Live Nation deal.
It's not so new anymore, but it was then. Hey, if you got a free minute, drop us a line or review, or subscribe to the podcast, or tell a friend. What could it hurt you?
This is John Schultz. I'm Windish.
Charlie from Crescent Ballroom.
Craig Newman.
Dave Brooks.
Dave Ratner.
John Holiday.
Doug Bicknell.
LX.
Imong Shah. Kelly Lefko.
Gerald B. Henley.
Harlan Fry here.
Jack Ross.
Jason Miller.
Jeffrey Fox. Joe Escalante.
Blair LeBlanc. Martin Atkins.
Neil Dixon.
Nick Farkas.
Paula Palazzo.
And I'm on Promoter
101! News of the week.
What is the news out there, Luke? We gotta know. Tell us the news.
Hey, now it's time for News of the Week. The NFL and Rock Nation stepped forward this week with a big announcement that they'd entered into a multi-year agreement for Rock Nation to consult for the league to, quote, enhance live game experience and amplify the league's social justice efforts. This will include booking for the Super Bowl's iconic halftime show, which is viewed by more than 100 million people every year. The Jay-Z-owned company, Rock Nation, hopes to, quote, inspire change. And Jay added further, Rock Nation has shown that entertainment and enacting change are not mutually exclusive ideas. Instead, we unify them. On Wednesday, CAA announced it would add Katie Anderson to the music leadership team. Her new role will be focusing on strategy, operations, culture, and growth of the 10%ery's music team. She'll be working closely with Rob Light, Daryl Eaton, Mitch Rose, and Rick Roskin in L.A., alongside Mark Dennis, Brian Manning, and Darren Murphy in Nashville. Finally, a Swedish court found that Rakim Myers was guilty of misdemeanor assault in order to pay more than $22,000 in restitution and legal fees to his victims. Myers, better known as A$AP Rocky, will be put on probation but will not serve any jail time in Sweden. The court found that A$AP and his 2 cohorts attacked Mustafa Jafari, a Swedish national, throwing him to the ground, stomping his arm and punching his shoulder in a street brawl in Stockholm on June 30th. A$AP was jailed for 5 weeks in Sweden, drawing international attention as celebrities like Kanye West and his wife Kim Kardashian West lobbied President Donald Trump to lobby Swedish officials for the rapper's release. That'll do it for News of the Week.
I'm Lucy Dickens from ITB, and I'm on Promoter 101.
Up next, we have 3 questions with Ronnie Scott's Nick Lewis.
Welcome to the podcast, Nick Lewis.
How you doing, Dan? Nice to speak to you.
Faking it in real time, my friend. Faking it. Thank you for playing 3 questions. What do you have in store for us?
Question 1. I'd like you to think of a couple of your favorite venues that you ever promoted shows at. what is, in your view, their single greatest asset? For example, is it their location, the vibe, the venue team, sound quality? Are they cheap to hire or something else?
Yes, all of that. My favorite venues tend not to have anything to do with financials.
Mm-hmm.
As I've noticed, the places the acts are the happiest have usually nothing to do with the word cheap. But the experience is amazing. So you think of the places like Levitt in Denver, or Red Rocks, or the Gorge, or the O2, the Ryman, MSG. Like, it's about the experience of playing these great places. In DC, you know, Seth's got the 930. It's about the experience, right? It's about the way everybody feels, the electricity that runs through it. So clearly, you know, it starts with the staff as you walk in and how they treat you, whether you're being herded or whether you're being welcomed. And it goes right on to the people that are handling concessions, if they're friendly or if they're rude, and right up to the stage labor and the house managers and that vibe that the tone is set. Are you welcoming the fan? Are you welcoming the artist? Do you want us there?
I love that answer. Thanks very much. You ready for question 2?
What else you got for us, Nick?
Okay, a bit of a left turn with this one. Disruption is an overused buzzword, particularly when it comes to tech improving or reinventing old business models. Now, obviously, streaming has completely disrupted labels and recorded music, and I've seen welcome glimpses of disruption in the ticketing world, but surprisingly little in the world of agents and promoters. Have you seen any examples of this, and do you have any predictions of how tech can disrupt our industry for the better?
A perfect example is what Twitter did to the industry and what the internet did. It completely disrupted how we promote shows.
Mm-hmm.
It killed our print budgets for the good and moved that stuff to online to find people that don't necessarily pick up a paper anymore. I don't know anybody that walks into their driveway in their robe anymore in the morning to grab a paper. Not to mention, shows can be announced on the click of a tweet. We're adding a show at midnight tonight, and now I've just sent it out to my 100,000 followers, and I just got retweeted by the venue who has another 50,000 followers locally, and that got picked up and retweeted by 3 rock stations in the market that also have another 150,000 followers each. It's just like, my 500-seater is sold out for a midnight show. Didn't print a flyer, didn't spend $1. Awesome. Things you couldn't do back in the day, you know? You needed radio to, like, plan those things, and it took a lot more work, opposed to now, an artist could say to me, you know what? I want to play tonight. Let's do something after the show. Let's do something special. Can you find a venue that would let us do a midnight gig after whatever show they have? By the time we load out here, we'll run over there and we'll tweet it out and we'll announce it from stage. And it'd be like, great, we can do that. We don't very often, but we can now, and technology has disrupted in that space and can do it. You see it a lot more in New York and LA. It's something I think the Brooklyn Bowl has become really good at, is adding midnight shows, and God bless Peter Shapiro's ability to do that. And I think you're seeing some of that with the hipper clubs in London and Chicago and Miami as well. The really big cities have done a really good job with that.
Sure thing. Yeah. Final question. What's the first question you ask yourself when assessing whether to take on a show or tour?
Is it a good deal for us? What's the long-term play? What's the short-term play? And what's the financial reward for taking the risk?
Mm-hmm.
If the answer to one of those questions isn't, it's going to financially benefit the company, it's going to take care of a person that takes care of us all the time, that will make it up to us in the long run, or this is going to be an artist that I truly believe in, even though we may not be making money today. I want to be in bed with this person for a long time, and I want to financially invest because I know with the right encouragement and support in the market, this artist is going to be the artist that's going to put my kid through college. And sometimes it's just for the love of the fucking music, because sometimes you just know it's not going to break, but you know somebody needs to be doing that show. There are some things that it's just, that music needs to be brought to people. And our first thing is making sure that we get the arts out there to the right people, because there won't be a next generation if we don't do our jobs now. We're kind of the guardians of that, I think, don't you?
Absolutely. Well said. Great answers, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
I can't thank you enough, Nicholas, for joining us on Promoter 101.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Ronnie Scotch is just like a legendary epic club in the UK. Thrilled to have Nick here on the podcast representing that amazing venue. You've been there, right, Andrea?
I have. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's fabulous.
It's like the Savoy of clubs.
That's true. If you want to play 3 questions, email us at steiny@promoter101.net.
This is Dave Ratner of Creative Law Network, and you're listening to Promoter 101.
Promoter 101 Flashbacks.
Episode 17.
Wayne Forte.
I just always wanted to take my act from the club to Shea Stadium or, Giant Stadium. Like, for instance, The Cure. I was telling, who was I telling? Andy the story last night. Because actually
Andy Summers?
Andy Summers was an assistant at William Morris when I was there. And he was one of those guys, when it came in on the floor, I looked and I went, this kid's got something. So I had him secretly, because the assistants weren't supposed to book. And I just said, here's an act. Just book some dates for me. Don't tell anybody. And so, he started, booking stuff. So he'd come to me all the time and I'd give him things to do.
That seemed to work out pretty well for him.
Worked out great for him. I mean, he actually booked some of the original Cure dates. I brought my original Cure route sheet. I think they worked for about $400. So the first show they ever did, I walked into the club uptown in New York, and I thought, okay, let's see what this is going to be all about, because it was a great record, and I chased the act for a while, and there were 25 people in the room.
Who's the act?
The Cure. And I looked and I went, oh, fuck, this is going to be a long road. It was 25 people. But anyway, my point was, so my whole lot in life was to go from there to here. And so, the day we sold out Giant Stadium, to me, was the success. It wasn't really about how big the agency was. It was like, that was my success.
B101 in the morning with Steiny and the Beers. Only on Promoter 101. Tweets of the week.
I hope you're ready, because it's time for Tweets of the Week. When the office manager stocks the world's cheapest toilet paper. Hashtag how much are we really saving? Hashtag order the good stuff.
Well, you never know when inspiration's going to strike, and apparently it struck in the can. Thanks, Adam.
When you pitched a show that somehow is already on sale on the market. Hashtag Promoter 101.
Seriously, did you not know that they were already playing the market? I mean, how hard could that be? What shows are the band playing? Or in this particular case, a comic?
When a competing promoter massively outbids you, I mean way, way, way overpays, on an act you have all the past history in the market, and knowing exactly what the show lost last time in the market, you let the other promoter take the loss. I mean, the date. Hashtag careful what you wish for.
This one is great. Pretty much sums up our business in general. Have fun losing the money for us. I appreciate it, dude.
When an agent goes to tweak the deal after challenging and clearing the date. Hashtag uncool. I've definitely done that. I'm admitting that.
Okay, how hard would it be to be like, hey, we should really address these things before you go and clear the date? Because maybe we wouldn't agree on little things. I'm not talking about little things like catering or merch or whatever. I'm talking about big, massive things like 30% of the guarantee.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely don't do that.
We need an extra runner, hey, we need a little help with this.
Yeah.
But when it's in the margin, fine. But when it's triple the margin of the net of the show, maybe we should have had that discussion first. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, agreed. Agent and promoter agreeing. It's a peace summit here. Note to self, people do not like it when you call them a train wreck to their face.
Learning curve, I guess. Oops.
And that will just about do it for Tweets of the Week. You can follow Dan on Twitter @TheJew.
Also, you can follow Andrea at AJMU19.
Yeah, but I don't tweet.
Lucy Lawler-Freese, Rival Entertainment and the Fox Theater in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm on Promoter 101.
In our feature interview this week, we feature AXS Ticketing's Vice President of Artist Services, Greg Schmale.
Greg Schmale, welcome to Promoter 101.
Thank you, Steiny. Pleased to be here and spending time with you.
So you were at Ticketmaster when we first met.
Yes.
You've always been on the artist relations kind of side of things, right? Where you build the promotions and the artist interaction with the ticketing company to create those special promotions and really help boost sales, right?
Didn't start out that way. Actually, I tried to create that while I was there. I actually started out as a promotions coordinator, entry-level job back when Fred Rosen was with the company still.
The godfather of ticketing.
Yes. And I happened to come in right as internet came in, I think 2 months before Ticketmaster had its first transactional ticket online.
You were Ticketmaster for how long?
Close to 18 years.
That's a long marriage.
Yeah. I came in and I wanted to work on concerts and music. I was told that they didn't need promotional help as much as the family shows and the performing arts and the family entertainment shows such as World Wrestling Entertainment and Feld. So I spent a lot of times doing promotions for those acts. So we would do one thing is Goldberg from World Championship Wrestling. We would do a signing meet and greet at Tower Records the day that we put WCW tickets on sale. So that I was the one that put all that together, coordinated with Tower, coordinated with WCW and with TM to try to put all that together. But it wasn't in music. I wanted to be doing it in music. And I just kind of started doing it on my own and didn't wait for permission, just kind of ran forward.
So you kind of developed that world because it's a huge part of the company now.
Yes. At the time, what happened was, and it's really luck and timing, I was there right as Fred was leaving. City Search and Diller was coming in. Barry Diller. And there was a push to drive ticketing towards the internet. And we had to essentially move it from, I think at the time, we were doing 3 to 4% of the business was online, and we had to get it to 40% in a year. So you go out there and you start talking with various venues and clients and trying to get them to understand, what the internet is. And I think at that time, people were still unsure about putting their credit cards online and whether it was a safe way to do it. So looking at, what's the best way you're going to make someone buy a ticket online? Pre-sales.
Get the best tickets early.
So you reward people that buy online with first access to tickets. And so that was kind of where the idea of the pre-sale happened, and worked on the first pre-sale with Depeche Mode, where it was actually, if you bought Depeche Mode's album at Tower Records, you were given a password to then buy a pre-sale ticket on Ticketmaster. And that was done in 1998, I believe.
Wow. So what you can do now by clicking a link to download an album and then get the code, you literally physically had to go to a brick and mortar back then.
You had to go into Tower Records, and then they gave you a code out of the cash register, like it printed out of the cash register.
So this is the first version of Verified Fan. You physically have to go in, and then you're allowed to access to buy early.
That was our first pre-sale. And then after that, we just started going out and really developing relationships with agencies and managers, and talking with Ali McGregor at CAA was a huge supporter, and we worked on a lot of stuff together. Also was able to then start creating relationships with Michael Cole's team, with Steve Howard and Craig Evans and others when they were doing the U2 tours. And so then that kind of morphed into, how can we build a relationship and help them sell tickets for our clients?
So getting to work with some of the biggest acts in the world to help sell more tickets.
I was blessed. I went from doing the Harlem Globetrotters mascot appearances and arranging that to helping set up pre-sales and eventually VIP packages for the likes of Rolling Stones and U2 and Kiss and everybody that runs the gamut.
Okay, so you left Ticketmaster to explore the possibility of Songkick becoming the next big space in ticketing.
Actually, I left TM. I think at that point, I'd kind of run my course. So in talking with Jared Smith and trying to see if there was a role there or not, there just wasn't. And so I left without having another opportunity. And Matt Jones actually reached out to me and asked about coming to work at Songkick. It sounded like a great idea, and that what was presented to me was, how do we go out and develop relations with the industry at large and get feedback from them of what Songkick could be, educating them as far as what we were trying to do at the time, which was really, how do you help connect artist to fan, and help with the discovery, and then how do you get them engaged, and then ultimately how do you get them to buy a ticket?
It's a great concept. It just, the management wasn't necessarily in place to develop those things correctly, because it just never really worked. It just never scaled.
It didn't scale, and I think everybody wanted to try to make a positive change. My vision, what I saw it being, was that someone that's buying a ticket for straight no chaser should probably have a different purchase experience than someone buying tickets for Slayer.
So you had some time there and you moved on, and that brings you to AXS.
Yes. I actually, when I left Ticketmaster, had reached out to Brian Perez to see if there was an opportunity to kind of replicate what we had done at TM with artist services at AXS.
AXS has the biggest ticket in the business by stub. I know your answer is going to be that everybody's going to use their phone. It isn't going to matter. Nobody has to print tickets anymore.
Tickets are digital, and it's identity-based ticketing. That's where it's going. And we have some clients that are exploring that, because the idea is that identity-based ticketing, you can actually know who the person is that's going to the show. So somebody that wants to go in has to log into their app, into AXS's app, to pull up their ticket. And it's a rotating barcode that changes every 60 seconds. So there's no way for someone to screenshot that ticket and give it to someone else. They actually have to have the app open and be in their account to pull up their ticket with the QR code at that moment in time.
AEG is probably the biggest client for AXS, I would assume.
AEG is a big client, but not an only client. We've got Quicken Loans Arena and Cleveland Cavaliers. We have MGM in Vegas, Toyota Center in Houston, and the Rockets. So, AEG is a big client, but there's also other clients.
Okay, when you start with a client that big, there are needs that are massive. Everything that you give Justin Bieber has to be on the same level of what Ticketmaster would offer Justin Bieber, right? So when you're starting a brand new ticketing company, from day one, you have to have the software that can compete with a Ticketmaster because you're competing for the same clients and you have to be able to offer those services, right? So that is a massive undergoing because Ticketmaster got to build into that.
Ticketmaster's been around for 40 years. They've got a 40-year head start. We've been doing this for 8 years. This would be the equivalent of Ticketmaster in I think they were founded in 76. So it'd be like, where was Ticketmaster in 1984?
Green screen.
To see the amount of scale that has come out of AXS in 8 years is incredible. And to the point that you said with Justin Bieber and others is at the end of the day, if someone's there coming to you to buy a ticket, the one thing you must do flawlessly is sell them a ticket. Do not turn someone away when they're there ready to buy.
So what can a ticketing company do to help sell a ticket for the actor, for the promoter, for the venue that they're not already doing for themselves? Your job is marketing, right? You create extra marketing opportunities for the show to help move more volume, right?
My job is three things I'm trying to do. First thing, trying to educate / evangelize AXS's platform and services to the industry at large, to stakeholders. We deal on a day-to-day basis with our venue clients, such as Staples Center, but it's not reasonable to think that our venues are going to take and communicate the information about AXS and its capabilities out to promoters and then on to agents and then on to managers and record labels.
At some point, does the public get educated?
We do that as well. And that's part of why going out and having a relationship with the artist helps, because at the end of the day, the fan is there to buy a ticket to see the artist. And so you want to understand what the artist is trying to do. It can make it more challenging when the message you're getting is from 5 to 30 different venues of putting a show on sale for a single artist. It's like a game of telephone.
You got a ticketing company. And as a ticketing company, who is your client? Is it the promoter? Is it the venue? Is it venue promoter / team? Is it the ticket buyer? Is it the manager? Is it the agent? Who the fuck are you answering to? Or who aren't you answering to?
This is a funny story I'll share. There was a panel years ago. There used to be at Polestar every year a panel on who owns the ticket. And one year it was an artist manager was on there, a promoter was on there, a venue was on the days, and then someone from Ticketmaster. Manager gets up and basically says, we own the ticket because it's our artist. And so therefore we should control how that ticket's sold. The promoter then said, I understand that, but the minute you took my guarantee, I'm the one at risk, so therefore I own the ticket. So it's my ticket, I control that. And it gets to the venue, and the venue said, well, I'm the one who has to have real estate and keep the doors open 365 days out of the year, and you don't have a place to play unless you have a venue, so therefore we own the ticket because it's access into our real estate. Then it gets to the person from Ticketmaster, and he looks down at the three people that just answered and said, when you guys figure it out, let me know and I'll have a contract ready for you to sign.
That's great.
But the serious answer to your question is in North America, I think historically it's been venues control ticketing. That's where the contracts are. And the idea is like the venue is the client, but how can we help our venues help their clients? And so how do we develop relationships with the artists and the agents, promoters that can then help optimize, make more money for them, which then makes the venue client happy.
Okay, so at AXS, you believe that the venue is the client.
Correct.
The industry changes, your involvement with the artist, the promoter, the venue, the manager, anyone willing to have a conversation about how we can maximize the system, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not who's controlling it, it's who's willing to come to the table to have the conversation.
Yes, and you also understand what the goals of the tour are. Some artists are about trying to make as much money as possible and optimizing the revenue opportunities. And so talking with them about how do you do that? Do you do VIP packages? Do you do premium tickets so that you can do upgrades? So the idea is like you have artists that are just trying to figure out how they can make sure they're not leaving any money on the table. On the opposite side of the spectrum, you have artists that are really about, even though they know they can command that kind of money, they don't want to. They want to make sure they give fair and equal access to all their fans. And so what tools can be put in place to protect those people and allow the average consumer that may not have a lot of disposable income to be able to get a good ticket at a reasonable price? And then you've got a third tier group of artists, I'd say, that are more about how do they grow? How do they get from a club act to a theater, to an amphitheater, to an arena, to a stadium? And so really trying to understand what the goals are from the artist manager, from the promoter, and also from the venue. And everybody's in that ecosystem, it plays a valuable part.
So it's about the future of the act, because you don't want to just sell one ticket to one fan once. You want to sell a ticket to a fan 14 times from the time they go from the club to the stadium, back to the arena, and back to the solo singer's spin-off PAC tour of his acoustic set of the information that he has performed in the stadium to the lucky few for the intimate performance.
Sure. The idea is, how do you help connect that artist and fan and do it in a way of what the artist would like to do?
I don't know how.
Pre-sales are one. It's gotten a little bit out of hand, I think, it's sometimes when you have...
Yeah, somebody made a point yesterday about 9 pre-sales and only selling 30 tickets over them, right? So is there a point to them mattering? And is there a way to maximize that? And some artists just don't. Do they really need to do all that? Everybody wants their own password, right? So there's 16 passwords. And what you realize is it's a great way to track who sold what, right? When you have the different passwords. But at the same time, it's just like, do we really need all that? Because does anybody really looking at that data in a lot of cases?
I think the idea is how can you leverage different databases to reach consumers, to make them aware of a show at a cost-effective method and try to sell tickets. But I think it gets to the point where when you have 9 pre-sales, a consumer comes in and doesn't know which pre-sale they need to pick and put in wrong passwords, and I just don't know how effective they get to be.
Who is the best promotion marketing machine? Is it a sports team? And if so, which one? Is it a promoter? Is it a manager? In your experience of all of your years in the industry, who do you find to be the best?
There's so much great talent out there as far as all sides. I think Feld is incredible in how they can put shows out on an annual basis and keep coming back into markets and be able to get people to come back out to see their ice shows. You know, there's so many different executives that have come up through Feld University. And so I think that Feld is really good at it. I think AEG and the Concerts West team has done, a great job with John Meglin. Another group that I'm continually amazed with is Arthur Fogel and Live Nation's Global Touring that used to be the next adventure. To see an office that's probably about 10 to 15 people that are running tours of the scale that they do is amazing. I think there's a lot of great talent out there, all the way from national, and then you get down to the regional and the regional promoters that are like such as yourself and your national and regional. You've helped build that audience and find those fans to come out and take that artist to the next level.
So when looking at a ticketing company as a new promoter or venue, what are the things that somebody should ask themselves about a ticketing company when they're trying to figure out what they need and what they're looking for in a ticketing company?
I think it's really based off of what the needs of the client are. The very first thing is can the company sell a ticket? Like I said, it's being able to handle a 10 a.m. on sale when you have millions of people coming in and you're also bots trying to come in. Is you've got to be able to block the bots and be able to sell tickets to the real fans. That's a key thing, is just making sure the technology can sell the ticket. Then it becomes more into what can that ticketing company do to help you between the gathering of data, to marketing assets that they can help with, to how they integrate with your existing systems.
Thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you, Dan.
Greg is a total stud in the ticketing world, and any other world for that matter. So excited to hang with him here on Promoter 101. Thanks, Greg.
This is Charles Attell, C3 Presents, and I'm on Promoter 101.
Write to us at steiny@promoter101.net and feel free to tell us what's on your mind.
We'll be back Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. on the Eastern Seaboard.
Join us then when we feature Live Nation Nashville's Brian Traeger.
Until then, we're wishing you sold-out shows for the week to come. Cheers!
Call your mother.
Crack open a cold one with Steiny and the Pierce. Only on P101.